Hello, deep thinkers. Welcome to Deeper Meaning Time. This is episode 5 of Deeper Meaning Time, and I wanted to basically get into the Thinker episode, number 2, a little bit more in depth, I guess. Just in case some people didn't know at all what Gobekli Tepe was, or if they went and looked up anything, they didn't really find much information. It's an interesting thing to then look up because there's a lot of different views and sort of perspectives you get on the site. And in my Thinker episode, I was calling it a megalithic site. It's not a megalithic. It's just technically Neolithic, I guess. But it's a Neolithic site that predates, the Sumerian language. It predates the Sumerian language and Stonehenge. It predates a lot of different things that we are taught in school had already happened. I mean, you literally can basically rewrite history with just this one site. Archaeologists, like I stated, they believe that it's like 12,000 years old, which is really interesting, and it appears that like the whole site was basically buried. Not 12,000 years ago, but 9,000 years ago. So basically for like 2,000 years, this site was used, they believe, as a common place where people of all beliefs and religions came and traded their knowledge and their basically just their like technological advancements that they had come up with. And that's what this place became, was a center of technological advancement where all types of societies came to understand more and learn more about themselves and about how to get by in life easier. And there are several stones or pillars that have been uncovered so far. The entire pillars weigh some of them from 20 to 60 tons. These are massive, heavy stone pillars. With one of the craziest things about the pillars is that they are carved basically backwards in the ways that you think of carving. Because the pictures are three-dimensional, which means that they would have had to have carved the stone basically down and around the pictures, which takes an incredible amount of time. And these blocks, although weathered and aged, look to have been used or to have been made with precision. I mean, precise tools. We've got, tight corners, straight lines. And there's some interesting things that archaeologists think about the pillars, and that they're possibly basically carved or set in place to look as if they're a human being, and it's interesting too, because then they put different types of animals on the blocks. But one of the most intriguing pictures is a handbag, is basically what most people believe it is. And some people believe it's just a handbag. That's it. But through different texts and different things that you can read, basically you can come to a conclusion that the handbags that they drew possibly would have been their stash bag. The bag in which they kept their shrooms, probably, is the biggest theory out there, that ancient people from then did a lot of drugs, but it helped them develop into who we are today. Basically, with hallucinogens back then, it transformed their mind and their beliefs, basically opened up their consciousness to be humans. Instead, possibly we were just, some smart, intelligent animals. But after ingesting and digesting shrooms, or who knows what other types of drugs they were getting their hands on, ayahuasca of some kind, who knows. But they were tripping balls, and they were seeing things and coming up with thoughts that opened up their minds to more possibilities of who they are, where they came from, how life just works and exists. It's super fascinating to look at some of the different drawings and stuff, there are like interesting looking sort of dogs, I suppose, or I don't know, some type of animals. There are massive three-dimensional carvings of lizards, or I think some have said it was a like an alligator or something like that. But the drawings and stuff, that into that for that all to be 12,000 years ago, that just it just solidifies and proves a lot of different things. Um, a couple of things, like one, the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe. Basically, and the weird thing is that the site was buried almost as if to contain it from the weather, or who knows, or maybe it was buried after the climate, the basic climax of the Younger Dryas event. So why it was buried, we don't really know. That's something that we'll definitely never understand. But the fact that it was is what is fascinating, and that should open up your mind to more questions, and to make you in search of more answers. And so basically, there's been like I think 10% or so of it uncovered. That who knows what else we could find, and it's already a massive site. I mean, and it's in Turkey, so you can look up like pictures of it on Google Earth, I suppose, or there's awesome pictures online, all kinds of pictures that you can find, and it looks as if possibly that either the stones and everything, all these entire sites were hand carved out of the bedrock of Earth. I'm not really sure exactly how they were carved, and I think maybe that is still really heavily up to debate as to how they got there, or they placed there. But what matters to me is the fact that, one, it's 12,000 years old, which means that everything we've been taught, is kind of useless in a sense, because they're like, oh, well, the first civilizations weren't that old. Nope, no way. But no, indeed they were that old. And it's fascinating, and it needs to be researched more. It does, and people need to understand the meaning behind this site, the fact that they shared knowledge here, the fact that possibly many people were here tripping balls, and who knows? I mean, I'm sure it would have been chaotic in this type of place. I don't know. I can't even imagine what it would have been like 12,000 years ago. But guys, clearly 12,000 years ago, human beings were here. What happened? What happened to them? What happened to their information? And you can't just believe all educators teach you, and what mainstream archaeologists what they say about it. It's not just a site, and there's no way that it doesn't mean something. And but it's still being uncovered still to this day, and it's a very fascinating site. One of which many believe is also a key to aliens. This gets into a touchy subject, which I'll end up getting into eventually here on Deeper Meaning Time, but aliens, they believe, possibly, they either, I can't remember if they just helped use this site along with humans to share their information of the future, or of advanced technologies, and either the site was created, by aliens and humans combined, or just humans, just aliens. We don't really know, but the theories are that basically there's a lot of key hidden meanings and things that came out of this site that had all to do with aliens, and it's fascinating to think about. And there's a lot of other things that you can go into and find out, and we'll discuss here on Deeper Meaning Time that explore ideas of aliens and how they helped create a lot of different things in our ancient past, and that could be very real, guys, and you need to think about it. we all need to think about it and consider it as a possibility. What really drives me crazy is that I talk to people around me, or I talk to anybody, uh, and this maybe just 5 years ago even. People didn't consider anything other than the current life in which was in front of them. And sure, that's fine, and that probably helps keep you, mentally awake. But I just don't get it anymore. It's not normal for me. I really don't think it is. It seems very odd, when I look around and I see people just going about their daily lives that just don't have a clue of what's going on around them and what has gone on around them in the past. There's so many hidden secrets, and we don't even know exactly what the pyramids of Giza are and what they do. And the most recent findings, which I suggest you go look at, is that the pyramids actually have the ability to focus electromagnetic energy. And that right there is really interesting too, and that can lead you down an entirely other path of thoughts and ideas of what our ancient past was like. But then that's the thing. We should be doing that. We should be diving way deeper into understanding our past and how we are affected today by what happened, because it's important, and it really is. And it's sad to see people just going about their daily lives. Granted, we all have to do it. It's hard not to just go about your daily life. You have to, and that's what we're here to do. But during that time of which you should be considering more possibilities, more thoughts, more ideas. Come up with more. There's more here to look at. There's more that meets the eye. I mean, just look up at night. At least do that. People don't even do that. People don't even know what the sky looks like. They're stuck indoors, and it's just so sad. I'll go by a whole day, and by the end of the day, I'm like, oh man, I haven't really looked up at the sky enough today. And to me, it's a bad thing. I really think all people should spend a little time just kind of looking up, staring at the clouds, at the sky, at what's beyond. Think about why the sky is the color it is. That type of crap, Just consider more things that are possible. And so this is what maybe the ancients here at Gobekli Tepe were doing, which was ingesting different shrooms or hallucinogens of any kind. They were considering more about themselves, about who they were. And that's what is important to me about the site and about what happened in the past. If that is the case, which all things kind of lead to that and seem like they are pointing in that favor. So maybe, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news for the people that don't agree with this, but I think more people need to do hallucinogens. I think today, and I'm talking about today, people need to be considering more, thinking about more, because that's what your brain and your mind are capable of doing. I mean, regardless of what the freaking government tells you, what your doctor tells you, anything like that, honestly, there's more there to see, to understand, literally, to trip balls. I mean, that's an experience of which a normal, everyday person just going about their daily life, never considering anything or thinking deeper, they will never understand what it's like. But there's a whole nother world to be seen. And it's not a bad thing, guys. There's a lot of horrible, bad, just stigma about shrooms or acid or anything that is a hallucinogen. It's because it is bad, and it's bad that people abuse it. And that's the problem, is abusers. Don't abuse it. It's not for abusing. It's for you, for your mind and for your consciousness. You don't need to abuse it. That's not necessary. It's for you to be awakened, to open up your mind to more, because that's what it does, and that's what it did for our ancient ancestors. I mean, guys, we had to be somehow, I'd like to think, somehow some of us are probably related to them, hanging out there in the temples of Gobekli Tepe and tripping balls and sharing knowledge with each other and looking up at the stars and possibly, whether or not it's true or not, meeting people that are from out of this world that shared more information because they were prepared to take on more information. They were already doing so. Maybe we needed to follow in their footsteps a little more, But no, that's never going to happen. There's such a horrible stigma about it. And you can watch different things. There was actually an episode on CBS's Sunday morning show a few weekends ago. There's a doctor, I think he's in California, if I remember right, that gives his patients, I think who typically have like anxiety or PTSD, he gives them shrooms in a comfortable setting. And they're able to have a good time and experience something more than what they're used to. And it usually breaks them of a horrible cycle that they've been stuck in for their whole life. That right there is an important thing for people to understand, is what its benefits could be. That it can't just be harmful. We have, decades old laws in place still about these drugs, about marijuana and about shrooms and acid, different kinds of Schedule 1 hallucinogens that could potentially be a gateway for human civilization into a higher mind. We could all, and I talk about this in every one of my videos at least once, we all are capable of more. We are capable of more thoughts, we're capable of discovering more. That's what we're here for, people. Guys, we are here for that. To learn and to explore and understand. And they were doing just that. Those ancient civilizations then. They were understanding more. They're making us look bad, even. There is more out there to understand, you guys. So whether or not you do a hallucinogen to achieve that higher realm of thinking, or maybe you just achieve it on your own, or you have some companions that you spend your time with most days that enable you to think along a higher realm and just higher, deeper thoughts. That's the start. That is the start. And they had already started. And it's a sad thing to see. And I believe we've gone backwards. We've gone backwards into a worse state of consciousness in which we all are sort of dumbed down. And there's conspiracy theories, all kinds of different kinds that talk about the government, basically, or new world orders or hidden societies that are smart and understand what the past was like, what happened, but they are taking advantage of us, especially those that can't think deeper, or the sheep of society, I like to call them. They're taking advantage of them, and there's way more of them than me and you. There's not enough deep thinkers. There's not. And so with laws in place that succumb people to just this everyday norm, it's a problem. And then they give people alcohol instead to wash down their sorrows. That's not right. No. You should be tripping balls instead of drinking yourself to death. Because that one trip may change the course of your life for the rest of your life. That one trip. For some people, that's all it takes. And people don't abuse it. It's not a recreational drug. It's more of a spiritual drug. It's a drug for your mind. But so the whole episode here today was kind of it's about hallucinogens, really. It's about tripping balls, because there are too many people around us that clearly can't think on a deeper level. and they just sit there and they sit around and they listen to what the government has to say and what the rules are, and they're rule followers. And people. Come on. It's time we break out of this ridiculous shell. This shell of which this society, that by now we are all just forced into. And I'm sorry to say it, but I feel like a lot of people don't see it that way. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. I think it's up for debate. I really do. And whether you believe me or not, there is more to think about. There is. There's a whole lot more to think about. That's our goal here on Deeper Meaning Time. And guys, I know that if any of my fellow listeners here, you're probably getting a little, let's call it dissatisfied with the fact that I'm a solo audio blogger. People enjoy podcasts in which there's conversations between people, and I understand that. And I'm looking for a co-host. I am in search of someone to think deeper with me, to talk deeper with me, so that we can share some of this information and get it out to the public and get people to understand that you can have your own conversations with your friends and with your family that open up each other's minds to explore more possibilities of what's around us and what's going on in this existence. We'll find out more. It's just a matter of time. The future is so far ahead of us, but we'll get there. And I hope that with Deeper Meaning Time and with other people like me and people that think deeper, we will get to a place in time where we have achieved a lot of new knowledge and shared knowledge, and that humanity itself will be on the right track towards a better future than the one in which I foresee us building. At the present moment, I think we're screwed. I think we are absolutely screwed. We are driving our civilization into the ground, slowly but surely. And it's because people can't think outside the box, because you cannot consider more and think more. So I'm looking for a co-host to help me push all this along, and to basically just better this podcast. I want it to be better for myself and for you guys. There's nothing wrong with that. This should be an outlet for us minds that can consider more and can consider the fact that there is more. That's so important. There is more. And so guys, with every revolution of the earth, let's keep this discussion going, because that's what Deeper Meaning Time is all about, exploring the endless thoughts and curiosities we have every day and discovering all the deeper meanings time has to offer. My name's Evan. Thanks for listening.